The rain-slicked highway blurred into a nightmare of screeching tires and shattering glass. My truck flipping like a discarded toy. The world inverting in a roar that swallowed my scream. I tasted blood and metal, my vision tunneling to the dashboard lights flickering like dying stars. And in that suspended chaos, my last coherent thought was of my father's voice on the phone, sharp as a blade. "You're no son of mine if you keep this up." Then nothing, until the beeps of machines dragged me back. My body a map of fractures and fire, and the first face I saw wasn't family, but a stranger with eyes like shadowed evergreens, murmuring, "You're safe now, Victor. Breathe with me." I woke to the sterile hum of the ICU in Seattle General. My ribs taped tight, left arm in a cast that itched like regret. The crash had been bad. Whiskey on an empty stomach after that blowout fight with Dad. The roads too wet from the endless northwest drizzle. They'd airlifted me in, the paramedic said later, my blood alcohol just over the line. Enough to make headlines in our sleepy suburb of Willow Ridge. But headlines were the least of it. The door creaked open hours later, and there they were. Mom, Dad, and my sister Clara, faces pale as the fluorescent lights overhead. Mom rushed forward, her hand trembling on mine, but Dad hung back, arms crossed over his flannel shirt, eyes hard. "Victor, oh God, we thought we'd lost you," Mom whispered, tears carving tracks down her cheeks. Clara hovered, twisting her engagement ring, the one from her perfect fiancé back in Portland. For a moment, it felt like home, the scent of Mom's lavender soap cutting through the antiseptic air. But then Dad cleared his throat, his voice gravelly from years of logging shifts. "What the hell were you thinking, boy? Driving like that? And after what you said last week." Last week. The words I'd finally spat out over Thanksgiving turkey. The ones that had shattered the facade we'd all clung to since I was 16 and caught staring too long at the quarterback in gym class. "I'm gay, Dad. Have been for years. And I'm done pretending." The table had gone silent, forks clattering, Clara's eyes wide with that mix of pity and fear. Mom had cried, begged me to pray it away. And Dad, he just walked out to the garage, slamming tools around until the neighbors complained. I'd left that night, crashing on a buddy's couch in the city. But the call came anyway, his voicemail a litany of Bible verses and ultimatums. Now, in the hospital bed, I met his gaze, the morphine dulling the ache but not the truth. "I wasn't pretending anymore," I rasped, my throat raw from the tube they'd pulled. "That's what got me here. Honesty." Clara shifted, glancing at Mom. "Victor, we talked. About everything. Dad's right, we can't have this in the family. Not like this. The church, the neighbors. It's too much." Her voice cracked, but she didn't look away. Mom squeezed my hand harder, then let go, standing as if the weight of it all pressed her down. "We're doing this for you, honey. To save you. There's a clinic in Spokane, conversion therapy. We'll pay for it. Get you back on track." Conversion therapy. The words landed like another crash, twisting my gut worse than the seatbelt burns. Dad nodded, finally stepping closer, but not to touch me, just to drop the bomb. "You're out, Victor. No more Thorn name dragging us down. We'll send clothes, whatever, but that's it. Fix yourself or don't come home." They left then, the door clicking shut like a coffin lid, Mom's sob echoing down the hall. I lay there, staring at the ceiling tiles, counting the stains like constellations of loss. 28 years old, a roughneck carpenter with calluses and a truck payment. And this was my inheritance. Rejection, wrapped in scripture and small-town shame. The nurse on shift that night, Jasper, his badge red, found me like that, fists balled in the sheets, silent tears carving paths to my pillow. He didn't say much at first, just adjusted the foredrip with hands steady as a surgeon's. His scrubs hugging a frame that spoke of quiet strength. Broad shoulders from who knows what life before nursing, dark hair cropped short and flecked with early gray, eyes that color of wet slate under the lights. Mid-30s, maybe, with a faint scar hooking his left eyebrow, like a question mark fate had etched there. "Rough night?" he asked, voice low and warm, laced with that Pacific Northwest drawl that made vowels stretch like taffy. I wiped my face, forcing a shrug that pulled at my stitches. "Family's a contact sport. Guess I lost the round." He paused, chart in hand, those eyes flicking to mine. Not pitying, but seeing. "Families can be the worst wounds, but they heal different than bones. Slower. Messier." He didn't push, just dimmed the lights and left an extra blanket folded at my feet. In the dark, I replayed their words. The way Clara's ring had glinted like a betrayal. Dad's back rigid as the evergreens lining our old driveway in Willow Ridge. Sleep came fitful, haunted by the skid of tires and the ghost of what-ifs. Days blurred into a haze of physio and pain meds, the hospital a limbo of beeping monitors and hurried footsteps. My family sent a box. Jeans, boots, a check for $500 with a note from Mom. For the clinic. We love you enough to say no. I tore it up, shards of paper scattering like confetti at a funeral. Discharge loomed, but where to? My apartment lease in Seattle had lapsed during the coma week. Buddies scattered after one too many bar fights. I'd started to numb the closet ache. Broken, and utterly alone. Jasper was there for the final rounds, his shift overlapping mine like some cosmic joke. Plans after this? He asked, helping me into a wheelchair, his touch light but sure on my good arm. I barked a laugh that turned into a cough. Crawl under a bridge, or maybe that clinic. Become the poster boy for straight and narrow. He wheeled me to the lobby, rain pattering against the glass like impatient fingers. Outside, the city hummed, ferry horns from Elliott Bay, the distant rumble of the monorail. Bullshit, he said softly, stopping at the curb. You've got fire in you, Victor. I see it. And bridges are cold this time of year. He pulled a card from his pocket, scribbled an address on the back. My place. Bare room. No strings, no sermons. Just a couch and coffee that doesn't taste like regret. I stared at the card, Jasper Reed, RN, and below it, a street in Capitol Hill, that artsy queer haven tucked between coffee shops and vintage stores. Why? The word hung heavy, laced with suspicion born of too many hands outstretched only to slap back. Because I've been there, he said, rain beating on his lashes like unshed secrets. Crash of a different kind. And someone pulled me out. He hailed a cab, pressed $40 into my palm. Take it or don't. But life's too short for bridges. The cab ride blurred Seattle's lights into streaks of neon mercy, my casted arm throbbing in time with my pulse. Capitol Hill unfolded like a fever dream. Rainbow flags limp in the drizzle, murals of fierce faces on brick walls, the air thick with the scent of weed and wet pavement. Jasper's building was a converted Victorian, ivy clinging and creaky, third-floor walk-up that had me cursing through gritted teeth. He appeared at the curb like he'd known, slinging my duffel over his shoulder, guiding me up with a patience that bordered on grace. Inside, it smelled of sage and fresh basil from a windowsill herb garden, mismatched furniture telling stories of thrift store hunts, a leather armchair scarred by cat claws, bookshelves groaning under dog-eared paperbacks, Steinbeck, Baldwin, a worn copy of Giovanni's Room. The spare room was small, a futon piled with quilts, a lamp casting golden pools on scuffed hardwood. Home for now, Jasper said, setting down my bag. Bathrooms down the hall. I cook on Wednesdays, your lucky night. I sank onto the futon, the weight of the day crashing harder than my truck. This is too much. I can't pay you back yet. Construction gigs are shot with this arm. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed easy-like. Pay? Victor, this ain't a transaction. It's human decency. Eat something. There's stew in the fridge. He vanished then, leaving me to the quiet thrum of the radiator and the rain's soft tattoo. That first night, I lay awake, replaying the offer like a suspicious reel. Jasper Reed, who was he, really? The badge said nurse, but his hands held stories, faint ink peeking from his cuff. A wave curling into a compass rose. Gay? The space screamed it subtly. A pride pin on the corkboard, photos of him with a group at last year's Pride March, smiles easy under rainbow banners. But no pity party, no agenda. Just a man who'd seen wreckage and chosen salvage. Morning brought coffee, black and bold, steam curling like questions. Jasper was in scrubs already, backpack slung, keys jingling. Shift starts at 7. Lock up if you want. There's a park 2 blocks over, good for clearing heads. He paused at the door, that scar quirking with his half-smile. Welcome to the chaos, Victor. Chaos it was. Alone in his space, I poked through drawers out of habit, old muscle from a life of guarded secrets. Nothing damning, just relics. A faded letter from Mom postmarked Maine, yellowed edges whispering of oceans crossed. A photo of a younger Jasper, arm around a guy with sun-bleached hair, both laughing on a beach that wasn't Seattle's gray shores. The guy gone, maybe like so many ghosts in queer stories. I pocketed nothing, shame heating my cheeks, and headed to the park instead. Cal Anderson buzzed with joggers dodging puddles, dog walkers in neon vests, the fountain spraying mist that caught the weak sun. I sat on a bench, cast propped on my knee, watching a pair of guys kiss unapologetic under a willow, their hands tangled like roots. Envy twisted sharp, that ease, that claim. Back home in Willow Ridge, I'd hidden crushes behind hammer swings and bar stools, hooking up in shadows with tourists passing through the logging camps. No names, no mornings after. Here, though, the air hummed different, alive with possibility and peril. Days stretched into a tentative rhythm. Physio appointments Jasper drove me to, his truck an old Ford with bumper stickers. Nurses do it with care. Another in faded script. Love wins, even when it hurts. He'd wait in the lobby, thumbing through medical journals, then treat me to pho from a hole in the wall on Broadway, broth steaming with basil and unspoken care. Tell me about Willow Ridge, he'd say over dumplings, not prying, just opening doors. It's pines and prejudice, I'd mutter, chopsticks pausing. Dad's a foreman at the mill, Mom bakes for the church bake sales. Clara's marrying into more of the same. They built walls higher than the evergreens to keep sin out. Me being gay, that's the crack they couldn't patch. Jasper nodded, eyes on his bowl. Sounds like my folks up in Bar Harbor. Fishermen, salt in their veins. I came out at 20, after med school rejection letters piled up. They said nursing was sissy work, and loving men? That was the devil's hook. Cut me off cold. Haven't seen the Atlantic since. His voice held no bitterness, just fact, like weather reports. But in the silences, I caught glimpses. The way his fingers tightened on the wheel during detours past family diners, or how he'd linger over that photo on the shelf, thumb tracing the absent lover's jaw. Who was he under the scrubs and steadiness? A healer by trade, but what fractures did he hide? One evening, 2 weeks in, the dam cracked. I'd scored a temp gig. Light filing at a contractor's office, arm still slung but mind sharp. Home late, rain-soaked, I found Jasper on the couch, a tumbler of bourbon in hand, jazz crooning low from the record player. Not his usual herbal tea vibe. Bad shift? I asked, dripping onto the rug. He looked up, eyes shadowed. Kid came in, 17, beaten half to death by his own father. Baseball bat. Said it was for his own good. Caught him with a boy from school. Jasper's voice roughened, knuckles whitening around the glass. I set the brakes, stitched the gashes, but the look in his eyes, it's the kind that doesn't fade. I sank beside him, close enough to feel the heat off his skin, the faint cedar of his cologne cutting the bourbon tang. Like mine, I said, the words slipping out unbidden. Dad's words hit harder than any wreck. Our gazes locked, the room narrowing to the space between us. Charged, electric, like the air before a storm breaks. Jasper set the glass down, his hand brushing mine, tentative as a question. You're not broken, Victor. Not to me. Then, slow as mercy, he leaned in, lips meeting mine soft, tasting of whiskey and want long denied. The kiss deepened, hands exploring with a hunger born of isolation. Mine tangling in his hair, his tracing the line of my collarbone, careful of bruises fading but not forgotten. We moved to his room, clothes shedding like old skins, bodies mapping each other in the lamplight. My lean muscle from sight work against his solid nurse's build, scars trading stories in whispers. It wasn't just release. It was revelation, his touch peeling back layers of shame I'd armored myself in. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of him, I traced that compass tattoo. What's the story? He shifted, breath warm on my neck. Evan, my ex. We met in nursing school, ran off to California for a year surfing in Santa Cruz, dreaming big. He wanted forever. I got scared, bolted back here. Last I heard, he's in LA directing indie films. Compass reminds me, direction changes, but north is north. Jealousy flickered, irrational and raw. Evan, with his beach gold life, versus my wreckage. But Jasper's arm tightened around me, grounding. And you? Here with a stray carpenter. Here with you. he murmured. That's the heading now. Weeks wove into something fragile, beautiful, a routine of stolen mornings. His shifts ending with my waiting with takeout from Pike Place, salmon fresh and illicit under the market's neon. We'd walk the locks at Ballard, watching salmon leap against the current, mirroring our own upstream fight. Jasper opened up in fragments. Orphaned young by a storm off Maine, bounced through foster homes that taught him to mend before he broke. Nursing school on scholarships, nights pulling doubles to afford the ink that marked his skin. I fix people because no one fixed me, he'd say, voice soft against the pillow. I shared too, the first crush on Tommy Hale, high school wrestler with a smile like summer. The hookups and truck cabs after shifts, anonymous and aching. The crash not just whiskey, but a scream against the cage of pretense. Coming out was my skid. I told him one night, rain lashing the windows. Family was the wreck. His fingers laced with mine. Then we're both salvage jobs. Lucky us. But cracks spiderwebbed under the surface. My arm healed enough for full work, hauling lumber in South Lake Union high-rises. But the paychecks came slow, guilt gnawing at crashing on his couch, now our bed. Jasper waved it off, but I caught him eyeing the mail. Student loans, a notice from the hospital about overtime caps, and the calls. Mine from Clara, voicemails pleading, come to the clinic, Victor, before it's too late. Dad's silence a thunderhead. Jasper's? A Portland number, unanswered, the screen lighting his face with something haunted. Then betrayal slithered in, subtle as fog. It started with a shift mix-up, Jasper late, me pacing the apartment, phone buzzing with a text from an unknown. Tell Jez I'm sorry about the wedding. Still love him. Evan. My stomach dropped, pieces slotting ugly. The photo, the compass, the way Jasper's eyes drifted during quiet dinners. Wedding? What the hell? He came home disheveled, scrubs untucked, that Portland numbers call log glaring. Rough one? I asked, voice steady as rebar. He nodded, avoiding my eyes, collapsing into the armchair. Car accident on I-5. Multiple fatalities. The kid from last month? He didn't make it. His voice broke then, shoulders shaking, and I knelt before him, hands on his knees, but the text burned in my pocket like accusation. Later, as he showered, I scrolled, stupid, invasive, but the hurt clawed deep. Messages from Evan, months old. Miss you, Jez. Portland's empty without us. Marry me instead. Unsent replies from Jasper. Can't. Too much water under. Water. Oceans of it, apparently. Confrontation brewed overnight. My sleep fractured by what-ifs. Morning light filtered gray through the blinds. Jasper humming in the kitchen, flipping eggs like nothing fractured. We need to talk, I said, sliding onto a stool, the text printout between us. My printer, cheap ink smudging the words. His face drained, spatula clattering. Victor, it's not. Wedding plans with the ex? While you're playing house with me. The words lashed out, sharper than intended. My carpenter's hands fisting on the counter. Am I the rebound? The pity fuck after family drama? No. He reached across, but I jerked back. Evan and I. It ended years ago. He proposed, I panicked. Thought I wasn't ready for labels. For the world that chews us up. Portland was his city. I ran here to hide. Those texts? Old ghost. I deleted the thread last month. But you didn't tell me. Hurt twisted into anger, hot and familiar. I'm pouring out my wreckage. And you're what? Collecting strays while waiting for Prince Charming's callback? Jasper's eyes flashed, that calm fracturing. You think this is pity? Victor, I took you in because I saw me and you lost, lashing out but fighting. Yeah, I have ghosts. Evan's the one who got away, fine. But you're the one who stayed. He stood, voice rising like a tide. Or am I just the fool who thought we were building something real? The fight spilled into the hall, words hurled like debris. My accusations of half-truths, his defenses cracking open old wounds. You don't get it, he shouted, the first time his voice boomed. I lost Evan because I couldn't commit, scared of the crash. Family, job, all of it. And now, with you, I'm terrified all over again. He slammed the door to his room, the lock clicking final. I stormed out, rain soaking me to the bone as I trudged to the park, bench slick under my jeans. Ducks quacked oblivious, couples strolling hand in hand. mocking the storm in my chest. Betrayal wasn't just Evan's ghost. It was the mirror to my family's rejection. Love offered, then yanked away on conditions unspoken. Was I unlovable, wired wrong for this world? The phone buzzed. Clara. Victor, Dad's had a heart scare. Come home. We forgive you, if you try the clinic. Forgive. The word soured, pulling me under. Hours later, sodden and spent, I returned to a dark apartment. Jasper's note on the counter. Shift. We talk later. I'm not running. But doubt gnawed. And in the quiet, I packed my duffel boots, jeans, the check I taped back together from Mom. Highway called, back to Willow Ridge, to swallow pride for a bedside vigil, to chase ghosts of my own. The drive south blurred through Tacoma's sprawl, evergreens thickening like accusations, radio static swallowing country ballads of lost love. Dad's scare was minor, a stent, the doc said, but enough to rally the faithful. Clara met me at the hospital in Olympia, hugging fierce, her ring cold against my back. He's asking for you, she whispered, eyes red-rimmed. Said he was wrong. About everything. The room smelled of wilted flowers and regret. Dad propped on pillows, thinner than the flannel memory, for dripping steady. Mom sat knitting, needles clicking like uneasy prayers. Son, he rasped, hand extended, palm up, surrender maybe. Scared me straight. Seeing you in that bed. Echoed too close. I took it, calluses rough against his softened skin. Echoes all around, Dad. We talked halting, not forgiveness outright, but fractures acknowledged. The clinic? Off the table, Mom admitted, voice small. We were scared too, of losing you to the world. Clara squeezed my shoulder, whispering of her own doubts. Fiancé's family quizzing her on values. It wasn't absolution, but a truce, fragile as new growth after fire. Back in Seattle 2 days later, the apartment loomed empty, Jasper's key under the mat as promised. He was in the kitchen when I entered, chopping onions for risotto, sleeves rolled to elbows, tattoo winking. No words at first, just the sizzle of butter, the steam rising like exhaled breaths. How's the old man? He asked finally, plating with care. Surviving, like us. I dropped my bag, stepping close, the air thick with garlic and tension. I'm sorry, for doubting, for packing like a coward. He turned, knife down, eyes searching mine. Me too, for the ghosts. Evan called last week, wedding invite, Portland. I told him no, said my heart's here, with the guy who crashes trucks and builds empires from splinters. His hand cupped my jaw, thumb tracing stubble. You're not a stray, Victor. You're home. The kiss was fierce, apologetic, bodies colliding with the urgency of second chances. Counter digging into hips, shirts tugged free, skin hot against cool tile. We made love there. Slow then urgent. Whispers weaving promises. No more hiding, no more half maps. Afterward, curled on the rug, risotto forgotten, he traced my scars. What's next for us? Whatever we build, I murmured, hand over his heart. Compass north. But climax brewed beyond our walls. A storm named Evan materializing on a crisp fall Saturday. Jasper's phone rang mid-laugh. Us sprawled on the couch watching Brokeback for the irony. His face tightening at the screen. It's him, he said, answering on speaker by accident. Old habit from shift handoffs. Jazz? Finally. Look, the wedding's off. She found out about us, old emails or something. I'm a mess. Can I come up? Just to talk. Remember Santa Cruz? The line crackled. Evan's voice a golden hook from the past. Pulling. Jasper froze, my hand on his thigh going still. Evan, Now's not great. Come on, man. You owe me that much. One night. For old times. I stood, heart hammering, the room tilting like pre-crash vertigo. Owe him? After everything? Jasper's eyes pleaded stay, trust, but doubt roared louder. I grabbed my jacket, door slamming behind me, streets of Capitol Hill swallowing me whole. Wandering to the locks again, salmon run over, water churning empty, I replayed it all. The crash, family's cold shoulder, Jasper's healing hands. Was love just cycles of wreck and repair? My phone buzzed, Clara. Dad's better, but he asked about you and that nurse. Said if it's real, bring him home someday. Progress, bitter-edged. Hours later, bar lights beckoning. I nursed a soda in a dive-off pike, neon open sign flickering like a pulse. Voices blurred. Two leather men debating politics. A solo queen scrolling grinder with painted nails. Loneliness clawed, but resolve hardened. No more running. Home found Jasper pacing, Evan nowhere in sight. Good sign? He didn't come, Jasper said, pulling me inside. Told him on the phone. I'm taken. By the guy who sees through my bullshit. Relief flooded, but I held back, arms crossed. And if he shows tomorrow? Or next crash? He stepped close, hands framing my face. Then we face it. Together. No debts, no doubts. His kiss sealed it, deep and anchoring, leading us to bed where bodies spoke truer than words. Slow explorations, laughs gasping into skin. The compass tattoo under my lips like a vow. Fall deepened, leaves carpeting the park in crimson confessions. Work steadied, foreman spot at a green build in Fremont. Sustainable condos with views of the sound. Jasper aced a promotion, night supervisor. His pride pin now on a lanyard beside the badge. We hosted game night. Queer neighbors, board games laced with innuendo, laughter echoing off brick. Clara visited once, tentative bridge building, eyes widening at our easy touches but softening over shared wine. You're happy, she said, hugging goodbye. That's the fix we couldn't give. Dad's letter came mid-December, handwritten on mill stationery. Heard you're building more than houses. Proud, son. Doors open, nurse too. No apology spelled, but the subtext hummed forgiveness. Christmas Eve, snow dusting Seattle rare as mercy, we drove to Willow Ridge. Truck bed laden with Mom's requested spices from the market. Jasper's hand steady on my knee through the passes. The house glowed with strung lights, pine scent thick as memory. Dad clasped Jasper's hand at the door, gruff welcome. Mom enveloping him in lavender hugs. Dinner was awkward at edges. Clara's stories of wedding jitters, Dad's mill tales, but undercurrents shifted. Questions about Jasper's tattoo, laughs over my old treehouse disasters. No sermons, just space. Later, on the porch swing creaking under star-pricked sky, Jasper leaned into me. This your north? I kissed his temple, breath fogging. Ours. Back in the city, New Year's dawned with fireworks over the bay. Our rooftop toast champagne sharp. To crashes survived, Jasper said, clinking glasses. To healings that stick, I replied. And in the quiet after, bodies entwined, Seattle's pulsar lullaby, I knew. Family fractured could mend crooked but strong. Love, once wrecked, rebuilt deeper. We were evidence scarred, steady, free. Seasons turned like pages in a well-worn script. Seattle's gray winters yielding to tentative springs where cherry blossoms clung defiant to rain-lashed branches. Jasper and I settled into a rhythm that felt less like survival and more like thriving. Mornings tangled in sheets that smelled of cedar and coffee. His alarm pulling him to shifts while I laced boots for sites where skyscrapers clawed at the clouds. The apartment evolved too. My tools migrated to a corner shelf beside his medical texts. A shared dresser drawer for socks mingled like our lives. No grand gestures, just the quiet accretion of us. His hand on my low back during grocery runs to the co-op on 15th. My thumb tracing his scar in the dark when nightmares of lost patients woke him sweating. But undercurrents stirred, subtle as seismic rumbles before the quake. Evan's shadow lingered, not in calls but in Jasper's silences. Nights he'd scroll old photos on his phone, thumb hovering over delete, eyes distant as the Maine coast he'd fled. I'd catch it, pretend not to, but resentment simmered low, a pot left too long on the burner. Just memories, he'd say when pressed, pulling me close. You're the present. And I'd believe it mostly, because his touch erased doubts like fog burning off the sound. Work pulled me harder, the Fremont project ballooning into overtime halls. Beams sweating under cranes, the air thick with sawdust and ambition. Foreman perks meant better pay, enough to float half the rent without that debtor's itch, and Jasper beamed over takeout burritos when I handed him the check. Partners, he said, kissing my knuckles, the word landing soft but seismic. Partners. It hung there, unadorned, no rings or ceremonies, but heavy with implication in a world that still side-eyed two men sharing keys. Clara's wedding loomed like a milestone, Portland venue booked for June. her calls a mix of bridal glee and tentative probes. "Bring Jasper," she'd urge, voice bright over the line. Dad's mellowing. Asked about his lobster rolls from Maine. I laughed, promised we'd try, but the thought knotted my gut. Willow Ridge eyes on us, church ladies whispering behind potluck casseroles. Acceptance was a word, not a welcome mat. One April evening, the quake hit. Not ours, but a coworker's. Tyler, the lanky apprentice with tattoos snaking up his arms like vines, cornered me in the trailer after shift, face ashen under the fluorescence. "Boss, Shit, I gotta tell you something." He paced, boots scuffing linoleum, then blurted, "I'm gay. Been hiding it, but this girl from church? She's pressing, and I can't." His voice cracked, fists balling. "Dad's like yours was, you know? Mill guy, Bible thumper. What if he finds out?" The trailer shrank, echoes of my own confessions bouncing off metal walls. I clapped his shoulder, steady as Jasper had been for me. "Tell him straight, no pun. Or don't. But don't let fear drive the truck. I've been there, crashed hard. Found my way with someone who didn't flinch." Tyler's eyes lit, a dam breaking in nod. "Thanks, man. Means something, hearing it from you." Words spread subtle on sight, whispers in lunch pails, nods of quiet alliance. It armored me that ripple-proof wounds could seed strength. But home that night, sharing the story over Jasper's stir-fry. His fork paused midair, face paling. "Sounds familiar," he murmured, then changed the subject to the Mariner's opener. I let it slide, but the fork's tremble lingered in my mind. May brought bloom and bruise intertwined. Jasper's promotion soured, budget cuts slashed overtime, his supervisor gig reduced to paperwork drudgery. Eyes ringed with fatigue from double shifts, moonlighting at a clinic in the hill. "It's fine," he'd insist, collapsing beside me, head on my chest like an anchor. But I felt the strain, the way his laugh hollowed, how he'd wake at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling, my name a murmur in the dark. I pushed back with plans. A weekend getaway to the Olympics, cabin rented sight unseen, stocked with craft beer and no-cell service. "Reset?" I said, packing the truck at dawn, his sleepy smile reward enough. The drive twisted through evergreens dripping dew, ferry crossing to Bainbridge a gray-blue dream, seals barking from buoys like cheering sections. The cabin perched on a bluff, windows framing the strait of Juan de Fuca, waves whispering secrets to the shore. We hiked trails mossy and muffled, hands brushing accidental on purpose, stopping at overlooks where eagles wheeled lazy against the sky. Lunch was sandwiches on a fallen log, Jasper's head on my thigh as he dozed, sun filtering gold through leaves. "This," he sighed waking, "is what I forget to chase." That night, fire crackling in the stone hearth, we made love slow on the rug, exploring like first times, his gasps mapping new territories, my name a litany against his skin. Afterward, stars pricking the black through the skylight, he turned to me, voice hushed. "Victor, I love you." The words landed like sunlight on frost, melting reservations. "Love you too," I whispered back, heart thudding steady. No fanfare, just truth, binding us tighter than any knot I tied on sight. Return brought the afterglow's edge, Clara's bridal shower invite, scrawled feminine but inclusive, "Gents welcome, bring your better half." Jasper chuckled over coffee, but tension threaded his shoulders. "Portland, Evans turf." The name dropped like a stone in still water. "You said it was done." "It is." He set the mug down, eyes meeting mine direct. But seeing him there, it'd stir silt. For both of us. He reached across, palm up. "Skip it? Or go? Face the ghost together." I waited, Clara's plea, family mending fragile. "Together?" I decided, lacing fingers. "No ghosts bigger than us." June sweltered unusual for the Northwest, air thick as plot twists. The wedding was a vineyard outside Portland, rows of grapes heavy with promise, tents white against the hills. We drove down in silence broken by radio indie. Bon Iver crooning loss and found. Clara glowed in lace, hugging us fierce at the altar's edge. "You came," she breathed, glancing at Jasper. "Means the world." Dad cornered me during cocktails, suit starched awkward, bourbon in hand. "Brought the nurse. Good man, from what I hear." His grip was firm, eyes crinkling rare. Your mom's asking about grandkids, joking mostly. But we're trying, son. Doors wider. I nodded, throat tight. Appreciate it, Dad. The ceremony blurred vows sweet and sincere, but during reception dances, Evan materialized. Tall, sun-kissed, directing crew with easy charm, eyes locking on Jasper across the lawn like a script cue. He approached during toasts, flute in hand, smile practiced. Jazz? Been too long. His gaze flicked to me, appraising. And you must be the carpenter. Heard good things. Jasper stiffened beside me, hand finding mine under the table. Evan, this is Victor. We're together. The words hung, a declaration quiet but iron. Evan's laugh tinkled forced. Lucky guy. We had our run wild times in Cali. But hey, to new chapters. He clinked glasses, lingering too long on Jasper's, the air crackling subtext. I excused to the restroom, gut churning, splashing water on my face in the mirror. Hazel eyes staring back, shadowed by old crashes. Betrayal's echo, not from Jasper, but the world's reminder. Queerness as spectacle, love as target. Back out, I found them talking by the vines. Evan's hand on Jasper's arm, laughter light but loaded. Pulling Jasper aside later, under string lights twinkling like spies, I kept voice even. What was that? Nothing. Catching up, his film's up for an award, that's all. But his eyes dodged that old panic flickering. Bullshit. His hand on you like ownership. Anger rose hot and hammered. If ghosts walk, say it. Don't let me be the fool chasing shadows. Jasper's face crumpled, pulling me into the shadows of an oak. I'm not, Evan. He offered a job. Assistant director on location in Vancouver. Good money, flexible for my shifts. He exhaled shaky. Tempting with the clinic cuts. But I'd lose us. Cross-border bullshit. Weeks away. The revelation twisted deeper than doubt. Ambition clashing with anchor. And you didn't mention because? Scared you'd think I was running again. Tears glistened in his eyes. Rare vulnerability. Victor, you're my north. Job or no, I'm staying. We danced then, slow under the stars, his head on my shoulder. Evan's gaze burning distant. Clara cut in later, twirling me with sisterly grace. He's good for you, she whispered. Don't crash over nothing. Homeward drive was quiet healing, windows down to night air sweet with pine. Turn it down, I said at a rest stop, motel neon buzzing. The job, us first. Jasper nodded, kissing me fierce against the truck. Done. Summer peaked in heat waves and honeymoons, for Clara, and us in stolen ways. Beach days at Alki, volleyball spiking sand, Jasper's laugh free as gulls. But fall whispered warnings, leaves turning traitor brown. Jasper's clinic hours cut further, bills stacking like dominoes, utilities red flagged, my overtime barely bridging. Arguments sparked small. Take the damn loan, I'd snap. Pride, Victor, not charity, he'd retort. Then the call. Tyler, voice trembling over the line from sight. Boss, Dad found out. Kicked me out, keys and all. Can I crash a night? Jasper's spare room echoed empty promise. Of course, I said, picking him up curbside, duffel clutched like lifeline. He bunked the couch, eyes wide at our space. Books, herbs, the easy way. Jasper slung an arm around me, pouring tea. You too. It's real, he said, awe cracking his voice. How do I get that? Time and truth, Jasper replied, handing him a mug. And a place to breathe. Tyler stayed a week, job shadowing light duties, his presence a mirror to my post-crash haze. It bonded us tighter, Jasper and I trading glances over breakfasts. We were the net now, catching falls. But strain showed. Jasper's smiles thinned. That compass tattoo itching under scrubs like a curse. October gale stripped trees bare, mirroring the stripping of illusions. Evan emailed, polite, professional. Vancouver gig open if Jazz reconsiders. Doors ajar. Jasper showed me, deleting with a click, but the seed planted doubts weed. Clara's honeymoon pics flooded texts. Bliss in Maui, her caption, families forever. Stung ironic, my own fracturing fresh. Dad's health dipped again. Flu turned pneumonia, hospital in Olympia calling. I drove solo, Jasper covering a double. The room was dim, monitors beeping steady, Mom dozing in the chair. Victor, Dad wheezed, hand frail in mine. Missed you building. Bring the nurse next time. Tell him. Thanks. For fixing more than trucks. I swallowed hard, nodding. Will do. Return found Jasper asleep on the couch. Scrubs rumpled. Phone clutched. Screen dark. But the Portland prefix glared in call history. Heart sinking. I scrolled silent. Voicemail from Evan. Timestamped midnight. Jazz, it's me. Saw your light on in the window that night. Still think about the waves. Call if you need. Need. The word poisoned. Propelling me to the bedroom. Duffel half-packed by dawn. Note on the counter. Can't be the placeholder. Fix your north. E. Door shut soft behind me. Streets slick with pre-dawn rain. Cab to the airport a blur. Impulse ticket to Portland. Evans City. No plan but purge. Terminal lights harsh, coffee bitter. My flight boarding like escape. Portland unfolded gray and green. Willamette muddy under bridges. Evans' address Googled from a cafe. Loft in Pearl District, artsy and affluent. I stood outside hours, debating knock, when he emerged. Casual in Henley and jeans. Spotting me like a plot twist. Victor? What the? Talk? I growled, shoulder-checking past. Inside. Exposed brick. Film posters curling. The beach photo prominent. Him and Jasper. Arms slung. Smiles sun-drenched. He poured scotch unasked. Leaning on the island. This about jazz? About ghosts. I paced, anger fueling. You dangle jobs, voicemails at midnight. He's mine, stay gone. Evan's laugh was wry, setting glass down. Yours? Buddy, jazz runs when cornered. Always has. That job? Lifeline, not lure. But yeah, I miss him. Who wouldn't? His eyes softened. Crack in the charm. Love like ours doesn't delete easy. Hours spilled. Stories traded reluctant. His directing dreams derailed by indie flops. The botched wedding a rebound farce. My crash as catalyst. Jasper as salve. He's scared of forever. Evan said finally. Door opening to streetlight. Tell him that, or lose him. Cab back to Seattle, border blur, resolve hardening like concrete set. Apartment dark, Jasper's note on the bed. Wherever you are, come home. North's empty without you. I did. Dawn breaking, him waking to my arms, tears mixing on pillows. No more running. We vowed, bodies sealing packed. Urgent, affirming, dawn gilding skin. Winter solstice brought clarity's gift. Jasper quit the clinic, pivoting to home health. Better hours, flexible pay. First client, a queer elder in Madrona, with stories richer than scripts. I pushed for therapy, joint sessions in an office overlooking the locks, unpacking crates of baggage. My rejection rage, his commitment phobia rooted in foster drifts. Clara's visit post-holidays. Baby bump announced shy. Adopted, but ours. She hugged Jasper fierce. Brother-in-law material. Spring 2026 bloomed reconciliation full. Willow Ridge barbecue. Dad grilling salmon with Jasper's main tips. Mom's pie laced with questions gentle. Tyler landed steady work, his own coming out a sight legend. Evan's film premiered, Vancouver shot, Jasper cameo declined but tickets sent. We watched in a theater off Broadway. Credits rolling to applause, Evan's dedication subtle. To waves crashed and compasses true. After walking home hand in hand, Jasper stopped under a street lamp, breath fogging. Marry me? Not papers but promise. Here now. Kneeling in the rain-slick street, ring from his pocket. A simple band etched with North Arrow. I laughed through tears. Yes, always. The ceremony was ours. Rooftop at dusk, friends toasting with IPAs, Clara officiating earnest. Vows traded simple. In crashes and calms, I choose you. Summer sealed it, honeymoon cabin revisit, waves our witness. Fall built anew. Joint account, adoption talks with Clara's kid as anti-practice. Winter's eve, fire lit, Jasper's head on my lap. I traced his scar. Healed more than wounds, I whispered. He smiled up, eyes evergreen deep. Us, always. And in that quiet, Seattle humming beyond, we were whole, scarred stories woven into tapestry strong. A testament. Love, once rejected, rebuilt not just survives, but soars.